Alright, doing a quick mic check to see how things are going. Hey, this is Nick with Program Practical. Today just working out of my basement. Close that. Alright. Anyways, so today I'm just going over some of the exercises I've been working through. I've been going through HackerRank.com, been studying Ruby algorithms and SQL. I've been going through the Ruby just to just kind of dive in and make sure there's not some like base concepts I'm missing, since I did learn just from a few books. Anyways, when I was going through it, I was like, well, I really need to either be putting this stuff on YouTube or going through blog posts. I didn't really want to write a blog post on something like, well, what I have going on right now, like with this a single liner for an array each with a conditional thrown in at the end. I didn't want to, while that is good knowledge, and the thought process of making this is good knowledge, it'd just be a chore to do it via blog post. So I figured, what I'm going to do is just start live streaming as I go through HackerRanker, and kind of like, as right now it's pretty easy, but as I go through like harder stuff like the algorithms or SQL, looking up things, just kind of showing the method of my madness, so to speak. And yeah, so we're starting off today with live streaming with just the Ruby challenges. I don't know I'm going to get to any of the algorithm or SQL stuff. I actually have some work to do here in a bit, so I figured I'll show some of this, and then next time I jump on algorithms or SQL, where I'm going to be struggling a bit more, actually showing that off. So anyone unfamiliar with HackerRanker, it's a very interesting site. They do a lot of contests and stuff like that, and challenges, and it allows for you to find jobs, but also allows for employers to HackerRanker, or HackerRank, it helps rank you against other programmers, and they have an understanding of what your knowledge is of an area. So it's an interesting thing. What I enjoy more about it is just the overall site with you have this nice little text editor down here. Of course, because I'm doing Ruby challenges, I'm locked into the Ruby language. But for a lot of stuff like SQL or the algorithm challenges, I can come in here and select whatever language I feel most comfortable doing that challenge in. And it's overall a nice site. There are definitely some things I don't like about it, but yeah. So it is an interesting site because it's not really designed to teach you things, although they do a little bit. Like here, they're talking about public methods, and they do a little bit, but for the most part, it's more just supposed to be like little challenges for you to solve for the day. So I definitely recommend checking them out. I'm not even sure what the next challenge is. So we're doing an infinite loop. So this is a wonderful exercise which explains the concepts of an infinite loop. So the influence column, let's see, practice breaks it in. So, and for a lot of these like simple ones, you know, they'll tell you a lot of what you're just supposed to do, and they're just kind of showing it to you. Alright, so I'm just going to get rid of this base text right here. So we're supposed to do an infinite loop until rating 1 reads 01. Okay, so this right here is an infinite loop. So in other words, it's just going to loop forever, and there's nothing that tells it to stop. However, we can tell it to break if coder dot practice equals, if I'm reading this challenge right. So we'll give that a quick test. So you can tell it to run the code, and then it processes through. Let me get this actually in the screen a little bit better. There we go. Checking to see what the thing's doing. So it just went on forever. It didn't actually stop after it found it. So an infinite loop and call. So I'm just supposed to then break. Okay. Hang on. Let me just try this real quick. I think I realized what I did wrong there. So yeah, so there's the actual stop, but we didn't actually call it. So what we're supposed to be doing is just checking. That's our Boolean condition, but it does want us to call this too. So call this method, and then break with that. So one way to do that would be, so if dot coder practice break, and oops, I tried to save that. See if I can get this more in here. Oh, I didn't mean to submit that. That was a correct method though. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to get rid of all this. Say break. There we go. So we were supposed to... Oh yeah, see, I'm just not reading this right. I need more coffee. There we go. Now that's Windows on the screen. All right, and coming back. All right. Anyways, so dealing with control structure still. Now we're going through the until method. So what's cool about, or one of the things I like about Ruby, is there's normally an opposite for each conditional. So you can use like if this is true, or you can use unless. So you don't have to say if this is not true. Same with the while structure. You can say while not this, or you can just use until this condition is met. Continue doing this. So we're doing essentially what we were doing before. We have we're going to call the practice until the O1 becomes true. So just get this, and we'll say until coder practice. Sorry. O1. So until that is true, we'll keep calling coder dot test and run that code real quick. Was that right? Let's see until true. Infinite loop, undefined method. Oh shoot, I did that wrong. I did or whatever. There we go. Let's run that. Alright, and that makes everything happy. Yeah. So we had a bonus for cases. So yeah, cases are an interesting thing in Ruby. It's not like it actually used too much. So HackerRank is written in Ruby on Rails. That's interesting. I didn't know that. We have various classes defined. Some are hacker, submission. That's actually really cool. I didn't realize this was a Ruby on Rails app. Oh, no, surprise, since Ruby on Rails is awesome. You've been given some friction object. So yeah, so this is what a lot of people would end up doing is ifs, but switch statements are also pretty awesome. And it looks like they don't actually tell you, they just give you straight to some documentations on case. That's awesome. Cool. So we're gonna write our control subject here. So we're gonna use case object when is right. Is that right? Is a that's a good question. Let's see. Well, let's try it. So when hacker puts the hacker I'm just going to do this real quick. It clearly won't work. I'm just trying to do a quick test. Yeah, so there's no output. Is a argument, yeah. Well, how about I just try this? I don't really know what that object's being passed in. Yeah, so there we go. So that worked. Okay. I'm just gonna copy that. Okay. Was there any default? Oh, it's an unknown model. There it is. I did not put a default. Okay, run that. And there we go. That worked. Actually, that doesn't test the unknown model. Oh well. We'll submit it. There we go. Completed. So yeah, so switches are awesome because it essentially just keeps you from having to write a bunch of if-else statements. Instead, you can just say, I want to test against this. When it's this, do this. When it's that, do that. When it's that, do that. And if nothing matches it, we'll just go back to the else. And then, of course, end it. So, let me jump back to Ruby real quick. So that was control structures, that's all of them? It was all of them. Alright, Alright, so this one we're just working on initializing initializing an array. Oh, my dog's gonna drive me crazy. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's out there screaming. Oh, my neck popped. Anyways, so what we're gonna be doing is initialize an empty array with a variable name array. Let's variables. So, wait. So your task is to initialize 3 different variables. Do I make 3 arrays then, or? Array 1. So an empty array, and oh, there it is. I see. It's hard to read because it's not all bulleted under one thing. With exactly 1 nil element, named array 1, and then initialize exactly 2 elements with the value of 10. And then, of course, they tell you all the things, so it doesn't really teach you anything, because it just tells you, but the first one's just an empty array. Personally, if I'm initializing an empty array, that's all I'm going to do. As I pointed out, you could do an array new, but I don't know, I guess it comes from just the different languages I've programmed in, but I'm typically, when I initialize arrays, I typically do just brackets. And of course, like, you know, it mentions there's nothing wrong with just doing that. I would be interested to know in Ruby, because every language is going to be different, but how many calls does this do compared to something like that? That would be interesting to know. And so, and a note for this one right here. So between this guy and this guy, I would advise doing this one. And the reason why is just look how readable that is, right? So for someone, like if you have a junior on your team who comes in and he's like, oh, he's reading through the code and he sees this, you have a good probability, maybe not, but I would be worried that he's going to read this and go, oh, this is an array with 2 and 10. Not, this is an array that's 10, 10, right? And that's why I like this. And that's also, you know, one of the reasons why. And then that goes for the same for up here, right? So you come up here and you're like, array new 1 spot. Now, given he should know like the array class, right? So he should know this is a spot, not a value. So, but still, for him to not know, like, the reason why this makes sense to me in the sense of coming from a statically typed language like C++, right? I have to allocate memory objects. So when I create an array, arrays are not dynamic. So you have to say, I want an array that's going to be 25 spots. Or that's going to hold 25 spots, or in this case, it's going to hold 1 spot. So this isn't like too out there, right? So I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, of course it's going to hold 1 spot. But you're talking about Ruby, which is a dynamic language, which even though it only has 1 spot, if I do an array 1 dot push, and I push in a new value, it's now a 2 value, which that wouldn't work in a static language. So I still think this is the more readable approach, because not only does it tell him there's 1, but it tells him it's nil. Same with like down here, you don't run the risk of him thinking, oh, it's a 2 and 10, instead it's a 10, 10. So anyways, that's, you know, a little biased, but that I would advise initializing arrays like this over the other method. Just on the fact that initializing with the array new method could lead to some confusion between developers. And it's all about wanting to be able to read and understand the code base quickly, even if you're not new. Just you haven't touched Ruby in a while, and you come back to some old code. Being able to read that quickly is still beneficial. I got a text from my wife. All right. So let's see. What is our goal here? The position 0 index. Oh man. So just jumping down here, let's see. Return the element of the array to the index. So we'll get the array and the index. We just want to return that index. Actually, even then, it still gives me the answer, so that's kind of a bummer. Because why not do that? But it does point out, once again, so if you come from other languages, you'll probably be used to grabbing stuff like that, or doing something like this where you have the square brackets and the index. But in Ruby, you don't have to. There's also the @ index, so it's more human readable. And for the keeping things Ruby-ish, I will do that. I wonder, can you actually go back on this? Oh, you can. Can I go forward? I can. Interesting. Cool. Just seeing how HackerRank does some keyboard shortcuts. See, inclusive range. Return the elements of the array between the starting post and endpoint, both inclusive. Okay. That says both inclusive, so do we want to just assume, because you might want to write a test to make sure that this doesn't expound or go outside the bounds. That's how it says. That's a good question. Well, let's try that real quick. Well, once again, the more Ruby way to do this would be to do a couple dots. I guess we'll run it and see what it does. There's a chance it could be outside the bounds of the array, and that could be an error. You might want to check for that normally, but we won't worry about it right now. Okay, so and this right here, so the dots, if you're new to Ruby, you can do things like, if we wanted to do a range, right? Let's do this. So this will tell it, hey, for 10 times do this. So there's an ability to, what do you want to call it? So they kind of showed up here, actually. So they have the 2 dots, which includes, and the 3 dots, which discludes, which actually tells me that I did this backwards, which I'm good at doing that. So a good, so essentially 2 dots is going to say, hey, go 1, 2, 3, right? Because it's 1, 2, 3. With that 3 dots, to say grab 1, 2, forget about the 3. You know, don't worry about that third one. You know, exclude that last one. So like this would go. Actually, exclude. Yeah, I did do that right. Bahaha. Anyways, so inclusive means this would go 0 to 10. So that would actually fire 11 times since we're going to count to 0. If I did that, it would only go from 0 to 9. It'd still be 10 times, but you know what I mean. Get rid of that. So yes, that's what that little thing does. It also tells me that I probably need to actually do that as a square bracket, not a round bracket. Jump over there and grab that. And I'm just going to paste that in there. Alright, what's this last one? So return length from the starting position. It doesn't say if it's supposed to be inclusive or not. I guess I'll try this one. Okay, so what I'm just going to do real quick is pop that down. And say start position plus length. Oh, actually the length, that's what that would have been used for. There we go. Sorry, my wife sent me something. Let's see. Oh, drama at work. Let's see. Alright. So, it's dealing with indexes in part 2. Okay, so just getting in at the end of the position, right? Let's see. Yep, the first, last. I really hate that they do this. I guess, you know, it's a good learning opportunity. Return the first in element in the array. Interesting. What do I mean by that? Return the first in element. The first in element. Is it just to the first indexed element, or take 3? I guess that's just a wording thing. And to drop an element, you just use the word drop. Okay, well that worked, so submit that for testing. Okay, well, alright, so for this first one, they want us to add the element to the end of the array. So that's just as easy as a push. For the beginning of an array, use the keyword insert, because you're pushing it in front of, or that's not a good one, because you're inserting it in front of everything. So G1, what is the unshared? Wait, insert really does the end? Interesting. I don't. It's very interesting. Wonder if I pop this open. Okay, so I'm just experimenting real quick. Bring this in here. So this is my console. I'm currently using a command line program called pry, which is kind of cool because I can do like this, lsx, and this gives me all the methods available for that variable x. So there's insert, stuff like that. So we can test, like, you know, what does insert 4 do? Oh, insert's actually going to tell us. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So insert's actually, we have to give it a index location, an index location, and then the variable. So that means it's a shift, moves things around. Unshift. Sorry. Unshift. There we go. Puts it at the beginning. Okay. So, jumping into what this is then. Unshift. Would add it at the beginning. We want to add this at a certain one. That would be insert. And then the index and the element. Add 2 elements. Add any 2 elements? So I can decide what that is. Okay, so I think I can, yeah, so if I'm reading this right, I can decide what I want it to be. So I'm just going to say 4 and 5 will be what I'm going to add. And we'll see if that's what they mean by that. Yeah, added 2 elements in the array. Yeah, so I could choose whatever I wanted. Okay. I wonder how many challenges are in the arrays and hashes. So I got those. That's quite a bit, actually. Well, I think I will actually probably call this a day. We're about 45 minutes in. And my hair's all messed up. Anyway, we're about 45 minutes in, and I actually have some work to do. As you can see on my lovely whiteboard here, I got those 3 things I need, or 4. Those 4 things I need to finish to get a new feature and some software pushed out so my boss can see that on Monday. I might do a live stream later, depending on once I get this done, I gotta do some auto work today. But I might try and knock out some algorithms or SQL practice later today. If not, I'll probably do that later. My goal is to start doing some HackerRank stuff every day. Although I just got back from vacation and working on catching up. Because when I was on vacation, I took my laptop and worked a little, but I was out in the middle of nowhere, and being out in the middle of nowhere, I didn't have, I had like 1G service, so it was pretty bad, so I couldn't get a lot done. So, but yeah, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to see more. Of course, I'll be posting some more stuff on programpractical.com. I've been pretty silent lately on both YouTube and the blog. It's just been learning a lot of stuff for work, and unfortunately I don't have time to, I can't show what I'm doing because it's all closed sourced software, but I haven't had time to make draft projects. I have a few in plan. I want to do one that I wrote a feature on sending sending emails via your SMTP settings using either Google SMTP or I believe Outlook. Anyways, it was a fun feature that, from what I could tell, a lot of the development community was pretty lost on. I talked to the local indie RB about it, and no one there could help me with it. It was pretty unique, I guess. So it's something I'd like to see a bit more. I just haven't had time to throw a test project together, but regardless, you'll start seeing some more of me as work gets caught up. I'm finally not so new at work, so things are getting better. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, share. You know what to do. And again, thanks, and have a great weekend. Well, I guess Sunday, so the end of the weekend, but have a good time, guys.